Hello, my name is Matthew and I know how busy teachers are, so I've created this video for teachers and principals to just spend a couple of minutes going through the Code4Kids robotics, coding and IT product that teachers use in the classroom. It's really just to save you the time from having to meet with us or figure it all out yourself. And in these minutes we really hope to go through, give an overview of the platform, why the schools are using the platform, show you the 4 courses and really the projects and what's important from a content perspective, and then dive into detail into the first lesson, which is the one we're looking at now. So Code4Kids is a platform for teaching coding, robotics and IT to students aged 8 to 15 years old. It covers 4 main courses, which I'm showing you here on my demo school, which will be your account that you have. I have admin access here, but I'll show you that in a bit more detail soon. So the 4 courses, the core courses are: we're building websites with HTML and CSS. We are building games with JavaScript and apps. We're going through robotics with JavaScript, and we're doing ICT. And ICT includes anything from courses on Excel to 3D drawing to graphic design. We're really trying to give teachers and schools and principals what we are liking to call the ICT textbook. It's a textbook for you to take in class that typically a teacher will spend an hour a week going through. Each lesson takes approximately an hour, and how we try and focus on the teachers, again, this is the teacher view. So the students aren't going to see some of the things here, they're not going to see that, and they're not going to see this play button. Now these videos here are videos that the teacher can watch that are approximately 10 minutes long per lesson, and that video will cover absolutely everything you as a teacher need to know before the lesson. Right? In the first lesson here, in the first course on building first websites, I have South Africa. The first lesson's on my country. So whether you're in the UK, the US, Australia, Canada, India, Kuwait, wherever you are around the world, the first lesson is going to be on your country. The second lesson is on the solar system. There's recycling and a maths course or a maths lesson on tables and going shopping. So this video covers what you need to know. Now in these videos, we're not only teaching the student, we're not only helping you as the teacher to ask what the student is going to ask, but we're also just slowly giving you a little bit more information just when you need it. So one of the examples of how we do teacher training, we're not going to flood you with an 8 hours of training before you've started, because that's a lot to absorb and it doesn't have a high retention rate. We set up a 45 minute training call with you as the teacher, and what we're going to do in that is we're going to just take you through the first lesson in detail. Really what I'm going to do today very briefly. An example of how we are, so this is the first lesson here, an example of how we train the teachers. We give something we call the 3-step problem solving approach. So if the students are having a problem, they've put their hands up, step 1, you as the teacher say, have you tried? So the teacher has to see that the student has written something and tried. Step 2, if the student has tried and you as the teacher can see they've tried, step 2, you ask the student, have you asked your neighbor? And your neighbor is allowed to help you with their mouth, but not with the mouth. Right? So the neighbor can tell you about it, help you with it, but not do it for you. And then thirdly, if the student still can't get it, which means every student in the class can't get it, the teacher's going to answer in the Socratic method. Have you tried this? What about this? With a question. And there's always a student who's going to get it, and that's really what you're going to do. You're going to constantly be asking the student questions. So you as the teacher really don't need to know any of this. You don't have to be an expert in this to be able to teach it. This is really ideal for a teacher who's teaches choir or does nothing, has done nothing with computers before. We've designed this for you, as the same for the students. So our very first lesson. Now, like I said, one of the very unique things we do is we focus on the teacher. The second thing is we try and keep very relevant, and we do that in 2 ways. We keep relevant by teaching real code. We're learning the code that the engineers at Google and Facebook are using. That's HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then secondly, we make it real content. So our first website is on our country, right? The students barely know they're doing coding in lesson 1. The second website's on the solar system, like I say, recycling. Even with our recycling course, we interleave a lot of other content. We follow something called the ISTE, which is the International Society for Technological Education. And we use the concept of if you throw a bottle in the ocean, it's there forever, But if you say something on the internet, it's there forever. So we keep the content very relevant and interesting to the students. So let us actually get into this very first lesson. On the left-hand side, we have this gobbledygook here that you might never have seen before, and that's completely fine. And the left-hand side is all it is us speaking to a computer in the language the computer understands. And on the right-hand side is what the computer understands. So the very first thing the students are going to do as they get into lesson 1, they're going to go here. And you as the teacher would have watched the first video, so that's going to cover everything, every kind of question the student might ask. The student's going to go here, they're going to delete the question mark, and they're going to go on line 6, right, I'm going to write my name, Matthew, and you'll see that Matthew pops up on the right-hand side. And we give the students a round of applause and say, you coded your first line of code. You've spoken to the computer on the left-hand side, it said, cool, I understand, and it did that on the right-hand side. And that's what programming is, right? It's us having an effect on a computer, speaking to a computer. So then what the students do, you as the teacher can now step back, right? The question is about South Africa again, or the UK, or Australia, or the US, whichever country you're in. They now have to go as the learners and fill in the different question marks on the left-hand side and right-hand side. And while they're doing that, as you can see, they're just getting familiar with the left-hand side. They don't need to know what that red is, that div. They don't need to know what IMG or this yellow is. They're just getting familiar with seeing the left-hand side pop up on the right-hand side. And you can see we ask, what are the languages spoken in your country? What continent are you on? What's the population? Now, when we ask a question like what's the population, this is a very important part of why we're teaching coding. Coding is not simply coding for coding's sake. Coding is a tool we use. We are teaching holistic ICT skills here. So when the students have to figure out the population, it requires a Google. Now, what's going to happen if you're in a class, 2 students are going to Google and get 2 different answers. And it creates a brilliant opportunity, and we cover this all in the intro video for the first lesson, to speak to the students and say, well, why did you get 2 different answers? Isn't the internet always true? It creates a great opportunity for something like that. So we go through our languages, and then we go to our languages tab. This is the next tab the students go to. And we say, just as if you'd want to speak to a Spanish person in Spanish, you have to speak to a computer in a language the computer understands. So we have these 3 languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We've created these little characters of HTML is the builder, or the bookshelf. He holds everything together, right? CSS, she is the artist, or she is the books in the bookshelf. She adds style and shape and color to websites. And then JavaScript, she is the engineer. She makes things move, subtract, add, divide. She takes books in and out of the bookshelf. So we say the left-hand side there, all the red is HTML. All that yellowy green is CSS. So we go back to my country, we've filled in all these question marks, and now we say to them, go into line 4, or you as the teacher will say, and all you're going to do is say background color green. And it's going to go green on the right-hand side. They go, oh, that's amazing, right? Then we take them to the colors tab, and we see all the different colors that there are. So now students go back to their country and they start going different colors. As long as they go, they try 2-word ones. We're going to tell you the problems they're going to have, the things that are going to work, the colors they're going to pick. And what we do then is they have to create a website that's pleasing on the eye. If it's bright yellow and bright orange, it's not going to look very good. So it comes more of an art class and creative class where the students are going around and figuring out what colors to make their website look good, as long as it doesn't look the same as their neighbors. And it gets exponentially challenging as they go. Now, the way that each lesson throughout the whole Code4Kids syllabus is designed is that the first 70% is core content, 60-70%. The next 20-30% is challenging content. It's really for the students who are getting ahead, spending a bit more time on the content. And then the last 5-10% is exponentially challenging. It's open-ended. It's really giving students something to think about. For those students in your class, you probably know who they are already, who are just going to get this quickly. So each of these lessons are about an hour. It's very common for a teacher to do one lesson in 2 45-minute lessons or 2 hours and really go a little bit more slowly and creatively through the lessons. And sometimes teachers in half an hour, 45 minutes would just do the first section. So the next bit of that lesson, the same lesson that takes an hour, is now we're learning our first HTML and CSS, and this is headers and paragraphs. We then go and create our last section, which is more the open-ended kind of question, and that's on my new country. So this is where anywhere from an 8 to a 13-year-old is typically starting here. Everyone starts at the same place. So no matter what age you're taking this on, you all start at the same place. And what they're doing here is they're creating a country that they've made up. Students that age are still quite egotistic. It's still quite about themselves. And this is a country, and you see some amazing creativity come out here. So, for example, in this country, I'm going to create a flag. Let's say I'm going to have a red circle, and I'm going to have a green circle, let's say, on my flag, right? And you'll see some students do the most creative things, copying pictures from elsewhere. And then my flag pops up on my website. Now, I'm going to write about the symbolism, or the students are, of what does the red circle mean behind the green circle. It represents energy and nature first, whatever it is that the student is going to do. It becomes a very creative part and very open-ended, right? It's not gamified, so the student doesn't have to, just rush to get to the next checkpoint. Okay, so that is the first lesson in a little bit of detail. And the last thing I'm going to do the last two things I'm going to do is just give you a little overview of the other courses, as well as just show you how to sign up as a school. As a school, the website that you would need to find it to sign up on is Get Code4Kids. It'll be in the link at the bottom of the video. And you can sign up very easily there. Selecting your video, you can see the pricing. How the pricing works, it's anywhere from $8 to about $20 per student per year. Like I say, we're trying to be the textbook for ICT. So that is the pricing depending on how many students you have. You sign up there, and then you'll get your own dedicated account on the lesson space. And that's something we've created where you can log in to get all your lessons. And then lastly, just to run through the last 4 courses, just very briefly. So you've seen the website. Like I say, the next course on building our website is the solar system. And the Earth and beyond. And so we have the solar system, but here on the solar system, we're actually learning about images. So you can see Earth isn't popped up there, so the students are going to go and they're going to complete the question mark. Instead of writing Venus there, they're going to write Earth, and they're going to get Earth. And they're learning about the solar system, but also learning about images. All of our websites can be opened. And what's quite powerful there is that these can be opened, shared, and even saved on an app. And we have this projects course, which is really fun. And the projects course the projects have a whole bunch of different projects based on the different courses. So one of the projects that the schools absolutely love, and the students especially, is a project on my school, my sports team, or my club, or my society. So for example, you might have some students in the 6C hockey team, and they are in charge of the website. Right? The students are creating their sports team with their fixtures, their results, their team news, the positions, some pictures, and what they can then do is open and send this. And we show the students how to save it as an app. And you see the most amazing thing. You see students who are logging in after their sports game on the weekends to update their information because the parents are viewing what is happening, the updates of what the different teams are doing. And this is such a powerful part of why we're teaching coding in this way. You've heard it said in maths, like, why do I need to learn maths? When am I going to ever need maths? And that's a shame to hear because it's so important. But we want to start teaching coding with why. Why should I learn coding? Well, this is why. This is where coding becomes useful. When the students get into the app course, they create a study app. They create an app on what they are studying. So it gets really powerful in that regard. Just to briefly show you the JavaScript course. JavaScript, we have a little dog called Test the Dog. And this is now where the students are going to actually start doing JavaScript. I'm also going to open the Robotics course here because the Robotics course is very exciting because it deals with a lot of maths as well. So we have this dog Tess, and Tess now only knows 3 movements. She knows how to move, she knows how to turn left, and she knows how to put the ball down, right? But what Tess doesn't know is how to turn right, right? So the only way we can make Tess turn right is by making Tess turn left 3 times, right? So I'm going to play Tess there. You see she moves, she puts the ball, she moves, she puts the ball, she moves, she puts the ball, perfect. She turns right by turning left 3 times. So what the students would do is they would actually then create a new function, right? So they've created a function called turn right. They can make a function. We can teach this dog a new trick. This is all JavaScript, or these functions are. This is all programming really is. So we then teach this dog the new trick called turn right. And all turn right does, calls three other functions. It's called turn left, and it calls it 3 times. And then we take turn right, and we just write turn right instead of writing turn left 3 times. And we'll see that Tess now actually can go and follow the exact same commands, and we've saved ourselves a huge amount of time. And even though we can teach this concept from an 8 to 13, 15-year-old, it is still a core concept in programming. To show you the robotics course, like I say, with the robotics course, we actually also can do quite a bit of maths, quite a bit of debugging, quite a bit of thinking. So here, we are actually teaching cardinal geometry, so north, south, east, west. We go through degrees with our Kip, our robot. And what our robot does is, in this case here, it does debugging. Now, we spend a lot of time thinking, what is a robot? Now, from its core, a robot is 3 things. It is 1, sensors that understand the world around it, understand that they see things, they measure things. It is actuators. An actuator is something that moves, like a motor, an engine, an arm. We explain to the students. And then importantly is a processor, something that communicates between the sensors and the actuators. So a self-driving car, it sees a red light, so it pulls on the brakes. It sees a green light, so it starts the engine or the motor again. And that is what at its core a robot is. And now what the beauty with this robot course, you don't need to invest money in equipment immediately. It goes perfectly before or alongside equipment, which we think is great. But this now, every student will have their own robot. And they're going to program their robot. As you can see here, this robot here, Kip, it went and it filled blue in the square, green in the triangle, yellow in the circle, then it filled black in the red triangle, then it filled green in the blue one, and yellow in the green one. So we have to do some fixing here, and it didn't finish the last 3. So we have to go into this, and as a student, we have to debug it. Some of the other things we can do with robotics, which is really fun, is we can do some stuff with regards to very mathematical concepts broken down into very easy ways. So here the students have to create triangles with double the length, with half the length. We have to create rectangles with half the area, double the area. We create degrees in some of the robotics course. The very last thing I want to show you is the ICT course. Actually, I won't even explain it, but I won't even go into it, but essentially the ICT course, in this one here, we're teaching Excel. Now, Excel is an extremely powerful tool that a lot of students are not coming through with, and probably 90% of people in office jobs are using Excel on a daily basis. A completely made up fact that I just made, but it's a high number. And what we do with Excel is we teach this in a very similar way to how we teach our other courses. And an example that I like to use is we have a table of 5 rows, and it's very much a maths course. The students have to get the total of their table. It's a shop. So we say you need a total of the 5 rows, so they go equals E1 plus E2 plus E3 plus E4 plus E5, and they go, cool, we got the total of our table. That's no problem. Then we give them another table. Now this table has 20 rows. And we say we need to find the total. And what do? They go E1 plus E2 plus E3 plus E4 plus E5 plus E7 plus E11 plus E6 plus... It gets a bit of a mess. And what we do is we're taking the students through the active learning process where it gets difficult in the beginning to come out of it. And we've taken the students into the problem. The problem is that I don't know, this is not working anymore. And then what we do, we pause them there, and the teacher takes them and says, well, there's this thing we have called sum. And in Excel we have sum, and sum, you just drag it, or you select the range of cells you want to sum. And then you see this thing click in the student's mind in these lessons that we watch. They go, oh my goodness, I can apply sum not only to the problem that I haven't only realized how to solve that problem, but the student now sees the value in learning a function in Excel. Their keenness to learn changes completely. They understand why functions exist, not just sum, but why functions in Excel exist. And that's how the Excel course is taught, with that kind of taking a student into a problem, showing them how to get out of it. So that is the Code4Kids course. Like one thing I didn't show is how your students will log in. You as a teacher or your students will log in on your school page. Very easy to log in, very easy to get set up. You come in here, you do your courses. It's very easy to get started. You really just need to upload a list of your students, or send your students to us. Info@getcode4kids will do that. If you have any questions, info@getcode4kids will do that, getcode4kids.com. Please give us a shout. Let us know if you have any more questions. Let us know if you love it. Let us know if you don't like it. Keep us updated. We're really trying to improve here. Thank you very much if you've got this far, for listening to me.